Welcome to Salento with love. I'm Davide Mengoli and I'm going to take you on a journey to a forgotten beauty. Dry stone walls, ancient olive groves and an incredible building built in the 5th century, 1500 years ago, here in Salento. Yes, we're in the region of Puglia. The location, right outside the town of Giurdignano, only 4 kilometers from Otranto, from the coastline. And the background now, an incredible ancient monastery that was built by the Basilians coming to this land from Constantinople, from the Holy Lands, 1500 years ago. And what we have here is l'Abbazia delle Cento Porte. Now, if you were expecting to see walls and buildings and arches and frescoes and mosaics, well, that's not what you're going to see. But what you will see and breathe is the atmosphere of something that came here in the 5th century, in the dark ages of the medieval period, after the decline of the Roman Empire, and built here by the monks in the countryside of Salento. They must have found peace here. There must have been something magical for them to choose this location and to build such a grandeur buildings. What's left here is telling us that this was a 3-nave church or basilica or a monastery, 30-meter long. Amazing. And the shape that was built, it was incredible. It was an apse shape, so a semicircular shape, which is not really common. It wasn't the way that the Romans were building. It's not the way that the local people were building. The local people, 1500 years ago, they were building little conical shape houses in the countryside, like little villages made of small stones. So you can imagine when the local people here in the middle of the countryside saw these huge stones being put together, arches started to come, self-sustainable arches. This was the way they were building polygonal building construction, so using large stones, large rocks, but without sticking them together. So they were actually one on top of each other, holding the weight and creating these semicircular shapes. You can imagine how grand this building was. The size of the blocks are incredible. We're going to go and have a look at some of these blocks over here. Look at this blue sky. We're at middle of October and it's still so warm and beautiful here in Salento. That's probably one of the reasons why the monks chose Salento. Well, geographically it made sense. I mean, you start from the bottom and you move up. So as they were bringing the faith in, yes, because this wasn't a Christian land, they started here. And Salento being flat, which is fantastic, it gives the opportunity for goods and people to move from one side to the other. It allowed them to spread and to build other monasteries. In fact, there are other monasteries that were built here in Puglia, but this one is particularly rare because of the size of the stones and probably or definitely the earliest one. Now, as we're going through, well, I've just seen something special that I'm not going to steal anything, I'm not going to take anything. I have incredible respect for this site, so please, if you visit sites like this, I know that they look abundant and we have millions of sites in Italy. Italy is the cradle of humanity, really. And so, but then when you come across things like this, I know that you may be tempted, but they belong here. They're not worth anything. They're not worth €1. They're not worth anything. They're worth telling us a piece of story. What is this telling us? Well, this was probably, I've just found it here actually. I haven't positioned it myself. And this was a piece of a jar containing potentially wine and oil, which he was transported and sold through the empire back in the days, because this was a big producer of the best wine as well. And these are used today to tell us the time and the age and the period. through the test that they do run. But also this was used to balance the stones. So we're going to leave that, we're going to put somewhere where people don't see it, so they don't take it. Well, anyway, we'll just put it there. But they were used to balance the stones because, do you see, one of the most amazing thing about this construction is that potentially these big blocks, they were not quarried around there. They were not taken from the ground here or in a quarry around there. But maybe, and I would say definitely, according to some of the historians like Paul Arthur, which is one of the historians that has studied and carried out some researches here on site, this could be the blocks, these huge gigantic blocks, could have been the blocks making probably one of the towers or parts of the city walls of the city of Otranto, the ancient city. So, you know, they were probably doing a renovation and they probably took down the tower and built a new one, and these blocks were probably recycled and reused. But first of all, the blocks, the shapes of the blocks tells us that maybe they were part of a tower, because yes, okay, they've been shaped and rounded on the inside, but potentially there was no need to shape them on the outside. Also, sometimes there is pieces missing, chunks missing, or holes in it in places that they shouldn't be. So maybe, or definitely, they were used as part of another construction. Maybe the city of Otranto. Now we're going to climb up the top here. Let's see if I can do this. Oh. And I'm going to show you something incredible, because this wall here continued to go up and up and up and up, and then it arched, and then technically it would have had a ceiling. But what we do find here is some ancient Greek writing. Now there was no need to do any incisions or anything, carving anything here, because there would have been another rock going on top of this, and then you see these cuts here and you see this. Yes, this potentially was a stone used in another part of the wall on another city somewhere else and transported here to construct this beautiful and huge basilica. And now where do we find ancient Greek letters there. So if you come here, climb up, be careful, safety first. So as you're coming down, we're going to be careful as we jump down, and we'll go through this way. But why did they call it La Basilica delle Cento Porte, the Abbey of 100 doors? Well, maybe it didn't have 100 doors, but it definitely had a lot of windows. And the main reason is probably because, well, in them days people had small houses made of stones, no light. So imagine seeing a huge building with loads of doors and windows. And when we're talking about windows and doors, we're not talking about very large doors and windows. We are talking about sometimes small windows, and what's left of it tells us about these windows. In fact, we have a small one here. On the other side we have plenty, and these are the windows, small windows there, and they could see through the other side, or they could keep control. Now the historians never found any traces of floor here, and never find any traces of the clay tiles that would have covered the roof. That tells us that potentially this building was never completed. One of those projects that was started, never finished. So probably the fact that it's in this state now, it doesn't, probably means a lot actually. It's not that bad. We've got a piece of history. But what was potentially completed was a crypt. So an inner building within this very big building. Some monks did live here. So this is the Basilica delle Cento Porte. If you come to Salento, you need to put it on your map. And also, what about doing a trekking? Just discover the area. This is so magic. As we're stepping out of the basilica, this was probably made up of gardens, and the monks, they were probably cultivating so many things that they brought over from their countries that they were coming over, from Turkey, from other different parts of the world that they were coming in. So it's amazing. This was probably a beautiful area surrounded by these stone walls all the way around. So if you come, make sure that you put Giurdignano on the map and the Basilica delle Cento Porte. And as I'm walking, I just want to show you one part of this place which, when you read about it, potentially not many people talk about this, but I think you definitely want to explore this if you come. And you may come with your own, well, theories. Let's put it that way, because I've come here a few times and everybody that I've brought over has got a different theory. Historians have a different theory, but I'll show you, and then when you come over, then you can tell me what you think about this. And this is literally a few steps away, a beautiful olive groves around, and what may look a little area which is totally covered in bushes, it's got cuts into the ground. It's got incredible cuts into the ground, like that. You see that? And it's surrounded by these cuts into the ground. Now, some people, when they came across this, obviously you have to go through the vegetation to understand. Well, medieval way, well, and this is, oh, this is beautiful. This is oregano, wild. It's full of it, and thyme. You see this? This, according to a lot of historians, these are burial grounds, and medieval, during that period, they used to dig into the rocks and bury them, but they're very small. But then when you come across this, then you think, what is this? This is really amazing. And well, again, the shapes on both sides are identical, and as you can see, the shape on that side is identical to that side. Is he an ancient Greek alphabet? Is he a burial? Is he a fountain? Is he a feature? What is it? And it's so close to the monastery. You've seen literally a minute walk. So it's amazing when you are here to these places that you could really bring a book, sit down, think, just explore, and you're confronted. You can imagine people 2,000 years ago digging this, creating this, having a plan. What were they doing? What was this? Well, it's one of the reasons why I bring forgotten beauty into what I do. When I travel and explore the world, I really like to be submerged with my mind, with my theories, because it doesn't matter how many we are told by historians and archaeologists, there is always a piece of the puzzle that can be your piece of the puzzle, and that's what makes it very, very special. So I hope you've enjoyed this forgotten beauty, l'Abbazia delle Cento Porte, just on the outskirts of Giurdignano here in Salento. I hope you come and visit. I hope you get to witness really the atmosphere and the magic energy that you can feel just by standing here. I hope you can do that. And please put a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and until next time, stay safe wherever you are from Salento.